All right, welcome everybody. Okay, we're back to doing our recaps here, but we're doing something a little bit different now. I've been asked this a lot. What is the minimum account size it takes in order to start day trading? Well, you know, the question is that well, there's several factors involved. Number one is how good of a trader are you? A good trader can trade with a smaller account than somebody that maybe doesn't have experience is going to need a much larger account. But the problem is there does get to a point to where if your account size is too small, even a good trader will have difficulty trading it consistently working with a small account because in most cases when you see somebody taking a small account and turn it into a large account, a lot of it has to do with luck in the very beginning because you don't have a whole lot of room for error. All right. So I guess the best way to think about this is that even if, and I don't think anybody does, but even if I had a method that was 90% accurate, that still means that my next trade, right, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a winning trade. All right. So, and the problem with a small account is that that one losing trade can keep you from trading and putting on additional trades. All right. So the smaller the account, the more difficult it is in order to be successful. So you do have an advantage when you have a larger size account because you can sustain several losses and still be able to come back and recover those losses and or adjust contract size based on the strength of the particular setup of the particular market. When you're trading a small account, obviously you don't have that luxury. So what I thought I would do is I would start with something like super crazy, like very, very small. So what I did is I started a small little account, a $200 account, to see what I can do with it over a 30-day period. Now I did this several years ago, but at the time I had a $500 account. I did turn it into over 1,000, so I had 100% return over 30, but that was 500. Now I'm starting with 200. So I honestly, it's going to be very difficult. I started today. Luckily, my very first trade was a winning trade. Once again, this particular method I'm using, it's going to hit about 70% of the time. So there's still a 30% probability that I could start with a losing trade. And I'm not going to have a whole lot of leeway here if I start off the way. Now, I did start with a winning trade today. It's going to give me some cushion. But I just thought it would be fun to see what I could do with a $200 account. And that's going to be difficult for me because I'm used to being able to adjust my size and put on several markets at the same time. So if I'm trading in C, I can do a gold and I can do a natural gas and I can put on some stocks, some stock indices all at the same time. But with a small account, I don't have that luxury. I'm going to have to be really fine-tuned and find one that I think is strong enough to possibly be a winning trade until I can get the account sizes up far enough to where I can go ahead and I can add some size. So anyway, it'll be fun. We'll just see what I can do with it. So we'll show you the trade that I made today. And we started this during the first 30 minutes. Now remember, every morning we start every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. First 30 minutes is available to everybody. This trade was actually put on this morning as a short on the natural gas. Now, the other thing is I am using what they call natics, and I use what they call knockouts. Okay, so natics, I think their minimum account size, you could start with like $250, which, once again, keep in mind, it's extremely small, very difficult to make money on a small little account like that, $250. I started with 200. And so, of course, I've had several accounts with natics for a long, long time. So I had my 200 in, and I'm going to see what I can do with it. But the nice thing about natics is I can trade the action of an index. I can trade the action of a metal, gold. I can trade these energies, crude oils, natural gas, whatever. and you don't have those really high margin requirements. All they're looking for is whatever the risk is on a particular trade that you're putting on, that's going to be your requirement. And with knockouts, when you get into a knockout, it kind of gives you that indication. And I don't really want to go into explaining all about knockouts. You can go to nadex.com and they have a good explanation of it. But there's typically a window, high and low window, and typically if you're selling it, your total risk is going to be whatever the high of that window is. And if you're buying it, your total risk is going to be whatever the low of that window is. And of course, my targets are in between those two windows, so I don't really have to worry about the extremes. But as far as Natick is concerned, if let's say you're looking to make $100, but say your risk is 300, then you have to have at least 300 in your account in order to put on that particular trade. If you put two on, that would be what? $600. So once again, it really depends on not so much the account size, but what is the risk on that particular trade. So anyway, like I said, further explanation can be found at nadex.com. So first trade today started off on the 6th, $200 account. We'll see what I can do by the end of the month. And I started with a short natural gas. Okay, so the short natural gas came in. This was what we call an HF2. Once again, I am using my patterns, and my target is going to continue to be based on Einstein. Took a nice little HF2 short here. And I did hold it until I hit my target. You can see I was in this for quite a while here. And it finally did hit my T1 target. T1 is what we call my very first target. I typically get several targets. And I actually have target 1 and target number 2. So once it went through my T1 target and we had this flush, I went out and got out at this exit. All right. So in this particular case, I did have a T1-2 target down here. So I held out through the T1 and went ahead and got out at the T2. All right. But in most cases, over the next 30 days, I will be looking to get out at T1 unless I see a lot of strength in the market, one way or the other. I may go ahead and try to go for my additional targets. But in this case, I was lucky enough to go ahead and get in and get out at my second target. Even though it wasn't much, it still started me off with a nice little trade. And that was the only trade, by the way, that I made in this account. So starting off 200, I'm up to 237. No big deal. This is my trade on the natural gas. So once again, I am looking to get in and get out, all right, at a fairly consistent rate. Let's see. All right, welcome everybody. We're doing something new this week. This is something people have been asking me for a long time, is why don't you do a small account challenge? And up to this point, I really didn't want to do it because trading a very small account is very, very difficult. Number one. Number two, I don't want to give the impression to people that you can start with a really small account and build it up into something very large. You can, but in order to do that consistently, it's very difficult. I know we've seen people do it before, but usually it is a matter of luck, because when you're starting with a really small account size, that doesn't give you a whole lot of room, all right, to add size, to diversify, all the different things that we need to do as traders in order to turn a profit. When you're trading a small account size, you don't have a lot of wiggle room, so you really have to be, you have to have a sense of luck in order to start off with a streak of winning trades. Now, this is very important to understand, is that even if you had something that was even 90% accurate, it doesn't necessarily mean that that next trade is going to be a winner. If that was the case, then we would just wait to what we consider were winning trades and be able to catch all the winning trades, right? And we know that's not reality, folks. So I don't want anybody to be misled thinking that, gosh, you know, I can take a small little account, and if I am able to do it, I don't honestly know that I can take a small account. I'm sure that if I did it month after month after month, I would probably have some success. But the very first time, it's going to be it's just going to be based on a lot of luck and whether I can start off with some winning trades and then hopefully get it up to the point to where I can diversify. But I'm only looking for 30 days out, so I'm not looking to carry this forever. I'm just going to see what I can do between now and the end of December 2023. Now, I did this challenge a year or so ago with $500. At the end of the month, I was up over 1,000, so I was able to generate a 100% return on the account size. But once again, could I do that every single month? I don't think so. That's just not realistic. So I don't like, I'm doing this really out of just to see what I can do. And so I really went small on this. All right. I started this account with $200. I'm just going to see what I can do with it. That is like super small. You can't trade anything with $200. All right. The only way I'm able to do this is I'm using what they call Nadex. Nadex, it is a U.S. regulated exchange, and they have a product which is called Knockouts, which very similar trading spot, except I'm able to start an account, a very small account size, and still be able to trade and take advantage of the action, whether it be an index or be a currency pair, forex, maybe a metal like gold, or some of the energies like natural gas and crude oil. So today was a natural gas trade, but the size of the account that you need is really going to be raised based on the risk of the trade. And so, without having to go into too much detail into what a knockout is, I think if you go to nadex.com, they do have some really good videos on exactly how knockouts work. But basically, it's like they give you a window, they give you upper and lower window, and you can trade within that window. But if it hits an extreme on the upper side or the lower side, that becomes your risk. So if you're shorting it close to the window, then you have a lower risk. If you're selling it, say, higher from the window, you're going to have a higher risk. And that's what Nadex is going to be used as what you have to have in your account. So if you're looking to make $100, but your total risk to possibly getting stopped out at that higher level of their knockout, it may be 300, then you have to have at least 300 in your account because it's automatically going to take you out of the trade. So there's no risk on the side of the exchange because they know that you're automatically, as long as you have over 300 in your account, then that's your max loss. And so they'll get you out and you lose $300. So, but anyway, like I said, go into nadex.com. You'll learn a little bit more about knockouts. But I like knockouts because it gives you the ability to demonstrate not only that you can get into a lot of these markets without having a lot of margin, but it also helps smaller account at least get started. Okay, and there's a lot of other advantages to use it. I use a lot of knockouts, obviously, on my larger account, but today I'm trying to go like crazy small, $200, which is just I don't honestly know that I can even do it because $200 doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room. All right, so you may be able to sustain a couple losses and then you're out of the game. So like I said, even if you're trading a 90% probability winning system, if that even existed, which I don't think it does, your best you're going to do consistently is that I've seen over the last 40 years is somewhere in the 65-70% winning rate consistently. I mean, over years and years and years. But even if you have a 90%, it doesn't mean that that next trade that you make is going to be a winner. Even though there's a 9 out of 10 chance that you can win, it still may be that 1%, right? Or that one trade that is going to be your loss. And you can't sustain many of those. So it is possible to take 2 losing trades and be out of the game, and all the rest of the trades out of the next 18 out of 20 trades are all winners. That's still 90%, but you still lost even though you had a strong winning system, right? Or a strong winning percentage. So small accounts are not realistic, but I am doing this just to see what I can do. I've been challenged on it, so I'm going to see, and I'm just going to go crazy small. I'm not going with 500 like I did a few years ago. Like, once again, I did turn that into over 100%. But this time I'm doing $200, which is just crazy small. Don't recommend it, but I'm just going to see what I can do. And I'm going to carry this to the end of the month. So we started today, which is the 6th of December, and I went ahead and I took a short on natural gas. I want to show you that because if you join us in the morning, the first 30 minutes is open to everybody, and then I move into Discord. I just so happen to have a trade today that came in early. So those that were with us in the morning saw this trade on natural gas, and I took a sell, and it was an HF2. Once again, I do use a combination of 4 patterns that I have identified that I like to trade off of, and then I use something called Einstein, which is a calculation. Once I'm in a trade, will give me an idea of high probability targets, and that's basically what I do. It's pretty simple, simplistic in the sense of the way I enter and exit. The patterns aren't very easy to find because there's more to the pattern, just price. But nonetheless, I was able to take that nice little short here, and I did have a couple things here. So after the opening bell, okay, or I should say after the opening for the Dow came in at 930. So I was still coming in on this short, and we hit a couple things here. So as we were coming down, let me go back here. As we were coming down, we had what we call T1 and we had a T2 target. Okay, T1 is the majority of where my trades are going to be. I'm going to be taking profit. But in this particular case, with the natural gas being on a strong short, and we also had another pattern setting up saying that it can go even further to what we call, this was like level 2. Then I went ahead and I waited till we hit level 2 and I went ahead and got out. All right, so the overall is not a huge win, but at least it gives me now a little bit of cushion. Starting with the $200 account, I'm up to 237. All right, so the more I can build this and being very selective, it's going to give me a lot more cushion. So that's going to help me as I start to build this account. But I'm just going to have to really be very, I'm just going to have to get lucky basically that my next several trades are winners. And then that's going to give me some flexibility to maybe take a loss or so and still come back and see if I can get this thing built up by the end of the month. So that's where we are. Hold the natural gas. Was doing a knockout. And so that's where we are. So let's see what we end up here by the end of the month. I don't want anybody to get the impression that you can start with a small account. Don't recommend it. It's very difficult to do that. And of course, the more experienced you are, you'll be able to start with a smaller account, but there are some limits, and I'm pretty much at that minimum, or at that maximum limit, I should say, of even having enough in an account to even do anything with it, right? So anyway, we'll see what we can do, and so please join us tomorrow. We'll do another update. We'll let you know how we did. If you'd like to know how I'm doing with the bigger account and my stocks, you can follow that in my Discord channel. And we will hit it again tomorrow. All right. Did have a pretty good day on stocks today. It's actually this week, the last several days have been really good. And we post all that once again. If you're interested, you'll have to come out to Discord and you can take a look at those results on a day-by-day basis. Or if you want to watch me live during the day, throughout the day, not just the first 30 minutes, then join my Discord channel. It's $50 a month. It's very inexpensive. You can see exactly what I'm trading and what I'm looking at and where I'm getting in and where I'm getting out and all that good stuff. And then if it's something you think you want to be trained on, I can certainly sit down and train you on my method. But right now, this is strictly to demonstrate, hopefully, the power of what I do. And I'm hoping, okay, and it is nothing more than hope, is that I can take a small little teeny-weeny account and hopefully turn it into something by the end of the month. All right, everybody have a good day. See you tomorrow.